'Cause like a winter tonight, I thought I would always have light. The quick flash that you gave to me, so dark I could barely see. Looking.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a great show. Today we're going to be exploring body image and fitness. We have a fitness model with us, sports nutrition specialist, and the mother of two, Alissa Parker. Welcome to the circle, Alissa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Now, Alissa, you have a very fascinating background because you are a fitness model. You specialize in nutrition, but you're also a mother of two.
Yes.
If you see this picture, you can tell, how does a mother of two get in this fantastic of shape? So how did you get involved in this?
Well, actually, I started competing and everything after I had my first daughter, and I had gained...
After your first daughter?
After my first daughter.
Wow.
So I didn't even start till after kids, but I had gained, 70 pounds or 80 pounds with my first pregnancy. So and I didn't exercise. It wasn't all baby. I had gained a lot of weight like a lot of women do. And, it was then that I was like, okay, I got to change this, and I started going to the gym, and the daycare was cheap, so it was awesome, and I made friends at the gym and sort of got hooked to going there more for me for getting out of the house, and got hooked onto working out and fitness. And my husband gave me a magazine, and I was like, I'm gonna look like one of these girls one day. And so that's how I got started. So, it's not, I haven't been fit always. I did.
Getting ready to ask.
Yeah, I was, I worked out and stuff in high school, and I was on the swim team, and I was a cheerleader, and my mom taught aerobics as a kid. So I did have a little bit growing up, but then I had times where I was in school full time, and I was working, and I was pregnant or had kids. And so it got away from me. So I've been on both sides.
That's interesting. So do you remember how old were you when you started working out?
Well, I started
Competing?
in high school. Competing, I was 26 or 27.
Wow.
26.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what we're going to explore today is more of the psychological challenges of being fit.
Yes.
Because you're actually on the other extreme. You're not on the obese side whatsoever. But you also have challenges that people don't realize.
Yeah, it is extreme. That's a good word for it.
There we go, is one way to say it. Having to maintain shape all the time is challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, it puts some pressure on you. I think a little bit of pressure is good because it keeps you accountable and gives you something to work towards. Too much is obviously not good, so you just have to keep that in balance.
So let's say, I know we talked a little bit off the show. What are some of the challenges Alissa encounters? We're going to a party, as we discussed earlier.
Right.
And somebody sees you grabbing a cookie all of a sudden.
Right. Are you going to eat that? Are you really going to eat that? Or,
yeah.
Are you eating today?
So it almost becomes, the world's judging you.
Right. Everybody's kind of looking. And then on the other hand, too, it's like if I go to a party, I know people are looking, so I'm more inclined not to grab it because I know I have the pressure.
So you flipped it that way.
Yeah, that's why, that little bit of pressure is okay. And then at the same time, most of the time, it's people that I'm friends with, or I really don't care. Judge me. I'm going to eat a cookie. You got to live a little.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you were also talking about the challenges of off-season and on-season.
Right. We go from such an extreme, leanness that's not really a realistic way to go about your life. I mean, there's some people that are genetic, freaks that are able to look that way all the time, but for most of us, not. No, and that's not common. So, we go from being extremely lean, which is very sort of a temporary situation. You're also very depleted, all of your cells, your water, your fat.
Take us through that a little bit. What do you go through to get that?
So a lot of times for competition, you're cutting out carbohydrates, which hold water. So the water that's in the cells, your muscle cells, your fat cells, everything sort of shrinks down. Then a lot of times if you're not lean enough, you drop some water. So you watch your sodium to try to flush some of the water out of your body.
Watching your salt.
Yeah, watching the salt. And then you scale down on your water intake. There's a lot of, you really learn a lot of how the body works and how to control things by food, which can get a little tricky, which we can talk about later, because it's a sense of control that you can get from doing this.
How low did you go on your carbs? Do you remember?
Carbs, gosh, at times I was probably under 50 grams of carbs a day.
Under 50 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah, which I wouldn't recommend now. In hindsight, now that I know more, I would not be doing that. Plus, I was at times, with different coaches that I've had over the years, which we can get into that later. Some of them are not responsible and will put you on whatever it takes to get you where you need to be, which may not be good for you. So, there was times where I was working out 4 or 5 hours a day on under 50 grams of carbs.
Under 50 grams of carbs. And 50 grams of carbs, you can get that almost in a slice of bread.
Yeah, like 2 slices of bread or,
You're
3
done for your
slices of
carb
bread.
intake
Yeah,
of the
that's
day.
it. And that's including like vegetables. So a lot of it I was just getting from broccoli,
Wow.
or asparagus or whatever. I counted every little thing. So, and I wasn't eating fruit. It was way too restrictive. So I've learned, this is why I kind of want to share my experiences, because I've really learned a lot about, being more balanced, being more healthy, having a little bit more, leeway on things, but, it didn't really change my physique that much, not being as restrictive. And, I felt so bad. Like, it affects your moods a lot when you're so depleted. And, so I want to share my story so that other people don't fall into that same trap.
So the cutting the carbs that you did, watching the salt, something obviously we
Right.
don't recommend.
No, and it's really strictly for competition. It's sort of an illusion that you create. You look like that for one day.
One day.
Yeah, one day. And so that messes with your head a little bit because you've seen yourself look this way that's not very realistic. And then anything less than that, you're not really happy with. So you really have to learn how to live with that.
You made a great point earlier off the show as well. It was a good conversation before the show.
Yeah.
There's a huge psychological challenge between that 7%. As you see the picture here, she's at 7%. And going to just 10%.
Right.
I mean, if you're a finance major, you'll understand it's a 40% jump. But psychologically, all of a sudden, did you feel heavier?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would gain a few pounds after the show, just mostly water weight. And you feel like you've just put on 40, 50. I mean, you feel awful. And, I can look back at pictures now and go, oh my gosh, I was so thin. I can't believe I felt that bad. But I literally, just a few pounds, you really feel it on yourself.
And did you actually cover yourself more?
Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of people think that, if you achieve this body, you'll be happy, or if you achieve this body that you are confident or not self-conscious. And that's not the case at all. I think that most of the fitness people that I know are more self-conscious than the average person. Aren't happy with their body image. There's a lot more than, just what you see. There's a lot more going on inside.
Inside the head.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to try to learn. We're going inside Alissa Parker's head and learning more about the fitness model and see what's really going on there. There's a lot of people, like you said, have a misrepresentation of these people or fitness models.
Right.
They think, wow, they have it all. They look great. They feel great all the time. And you brought an interesting point once again before the show, social media issues.
Right. Social media plays such a huge role in advertising now. I mean, we don't really focus so much on the magazines and TV. Everybody's on Facebook and Instagram and all that. And we have to use that as a way to market ourselves and create a brand. It's not a real picture of reality. And everybody posts, what's going on great that day, or they take 30 pictures to get that one good selfie that's like the best angle, right? So, you don't know what it took to get that picture or how much touching up that they've done to get it. And I think it paints a picture for other people that can make other people feel down. I mean, I know I see it all the time. I see all my friends and they're doing this and doing that. And, some days I'm not feeling great about myself and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was doing that.
How does that translate with your clients? Because you said that causes them to be depressed, maybe eat more?
Either that or they get deeper into the cycle of dieting, doing more cardio. I mean, there's...
the other way.
Yeah, so it could be the other way around. It depends on the type of person that you are. If you're an emotional eater, then perhaps that would be, where they would go, is just say, screw it, I'm just going to eat. And I don't know if that's not the case with me. I would probably go the other way.
That's the wonderful thing about Alissa. She's not just looking at how to get your body into better shape. She's also looking at your mental health. In a sense. She's making sure you have a good perception of yourself and look for these traps that we don't easily see, such as the social media issues.
Yeah.
What other things have you discovered in your world of fitness modeling that surprised you maybe, that's tougher than you thought? Maybe not the competition, but maybe some of the psychological challenges. Was there heavy competition between
you know what? For the most part, I felt like I've made so many good friends. That part has all been very positive, actually, the competing part. everybody kind of is in the same boat, and we can relate to each other, and we've all talked, which is very it's good to get it out and to talk about these things, and see, just to help you get over what you may be going through, because we've all kind of done it, and I want to share my story so that people don't fall into those traps. And there's so many coaches out there who are so, you have to do it this way, and if you don't follow that, then you're a failure, or I don't like that negative connotation that goes along with some of that. With my clients, I'm always very positive, and I know everybody's different, and I try to make things fit their lifestyle, because if no diet works if you can't follow it.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So it has to be something that you can live with long term.
Now, on these coaches, some people are going to be thinking at home, well, are there drugs involved?
I think there are to some extent. I haven't seen it, not in what I compete in. I'm in the figure division, which is, there's bodybuilding, and then there's different levels. There's women's physique now, which is brand new, which is a little bit smaller than bodybuilding. Then there's fitness, which is when they do the full routines. There's figure, which is the one I compete in, and then there's bikini, which is smaller. A little
so you
bit
did
less.
the 7% drug-free?
Yes.
And as a mother of two?
Yes.
No excuses out there.
Yes.
No excuses at all. That's wonderful. So you were saying there were some challenges with the coaches giving you improper guidance in the dieting?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, and I think this is true across the board, so you have to be very careful if you're selecting a coach. Make sure you really talk to them and find out if it's somebody that is going to fit with your, the way that you want to go about doing things. Because some... it's almost like they brainwash you. It's like, you need to do it this way, and this is the way that we're going to get you there. And yeah, that may work, but who knows what the repercussions are going to be after the show. And a lot of times people don't continue to coach you after you've done your 12 weeks of contest diet. So, you've basically, it's funny. I always say it's kind of like having a baby in pregnancy. You focus on this one event so much, and then you get there, and then it's over, and it's almost like a postpartum depression. But you can't really look at that event that it's the end. You have to keep going. So basically what I have done like this last couple years is I go through my diet for the show. You diet down. It takes about 12 weeks to diet down, and then after the show you reverse diet. So you slowly increase your calories again.
Wow.
And then you start decreasing some of the working out, so that your body doesn't go through this huge shock.
Psychologically, that must be hard too.
It is, but you know what, I found that as long as I just have a different goal, as long as I stay focused on a certain goal, that works for me. So as long as I know where I'm headed.
Interesting.
Yeah, so goal setting is really important.
And how do the kids play in all this?
They're so used to this because I started when my first was born. So, they've lived with it always. As a mother, I think you really need to, set aside time for yourself. You can't get lost in doing just your kids' things. You have to focus on your health also. And, I have a little gym at my house, so I have a way to work out at home. That makes it so much easier for me because I can just get up before the kids get up and get it done, or work out late at night, or, I make an effort to fit it in somewhere.
Right.
So I think everybody, if they really want to, has that ability.
Well, on part 2, we're going to discuss a little bit more about fitness tips and exercise tips for you. But before we get to that, we're going to have one more question for Alissa. So if you had anything you would say, what are some of the stories that pop up in your head, or one story that pops up in your head of some of the challenges your clients have in regards to keeping in shape or getting into shape, just your everyday Joe?
It's the everyday stuff. When you don't have a specific goal in mind, I think short-term goals are really important, because if you just set a long-term goal, like I'm going to lose 50 pounds, well, that's kind of so far down the line that, you kind of are like, I'll do it tomorrow. So if you set a shorter goal for yourself, like I want to lose 1 pound a week, then you're more inclined to, maybe deviate from, some of the fun stuff at a party or whatever. You don't want to indulge too much, but I don't think being overly restrictive is good either.
Make
Moderation.
it realistic. Moderation.
Yeah.
Make it realistic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Alissa,
Thank you
for the
for
great
having
insight.
me.
She really has a great psychological insight into the mind. What goes on when you're trying to stay fit or trying to become fit? In part 2, we're going to learn a lot more about exercise and nutrition tips. How many days a week should you work out? How many calories should you have? We'll find all about that.
Hi, welcome to Adelante. This is Adelante Recovery, and my name is Yvette Kuglin, and I'm part of the staff.
Adelante Recovery Center has helped people in dual diagnosis for 5 years. We accept most PPO insurances and provide luxury accommodations and 24-hour support. To speak with an admissions counselor, call 1-888-242-4450.
A lot of time we don't even know what's wrong with us, and sometimes we need to get away to figure that out. So if you want to go for a little retreat out in Corona Del Mar, which is a confidential location, we're here to help. So we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
In part 1, we talked a little bit about, how would you say, beyond posing, beyond the fitness model. We're trying to understand the psychology of what fitness models go through. Even though you're in great shape, a lot of people think, oh, she's in great shape. Psychologically, she must be riding high. She's got a great life. And it's not always that way.
No.
We found that out. Today, we're going to talk more about, well, how do you get to look better? How do you get to stay healthy? What is healthy? So, first question for you off in part 2 is, what is healthy?
I think, we have to look at the body image. You have to have a healthy body image, first of all. And I think a lot of people that are fit don't necessarily have that. So having the perfect body is not going to make you happy. So happiness, being healthy, having good health and, good cholesterol and good blood pressure, all that stuff is more important than looking a certain
And a
way.
six-pack.
Yeah, it's more important to be healthy and to focus on your mental health and your happiness and balance in everything.
Yeah, that was something you mentioned in part 1. You said keep everything in moderation.
Yeah.
A diet that you don't follow. I think
Yeah,
is what you were saying.
no diet works if you can't follow it.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
a great comment.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people think for me to be healthy, I have to have a six-pack or I have to look this way or that way. Now, you being in the industry for so long, some people are just genetically blessed to be lean, correct?
Right. Yeah, some people are. Some people, they're the ectomorph body type is the type that's just
Ectomorph.
lean, and then there's the endomorphs, which are just naturally, bigger, bigger shoulders, bigger bone structure. So, and then the mesomorph is just like an athletic build. It's a little bit more in between. And, it's funny because I sort of changed my body. I was an ectomorph all through my childhood, just lanky and long and thin. And then now I'm more of like an ectomeso. I've sort of changed my body type
Evolving.
over the years. Yeah. Because now I have a harder time losing weight.
I have a hard time losing weight.
Yeah, so it's harder for me. I mean, I still have to work very hard. It's not easy.
Now, when you're saying weight, are you referring to your muscle mass?
Body fat.
Oh, body fat itself.
Yeah, body
Oh,
fat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, does it become harder for us as we get older to lose body fat?
Yeah, I think
It
it
does?
definitely does. And I think dieting over the years also makes it more difficult. The more you diet, the fatter we are.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Because, we follow these diets that are overly restrictive or too low in calories, and then you go off the diet, and your body, basically your metabolism will shift because your body wants to be in homeostasis, so it wants to stay level all the time. So if you go and you drop your calories to here, your metabolism's going to go to here because it's going to say, I'm starving, I'm going to stop eating or stop burning so that you can survive. Otherwise, we could just keep losing weight indefinitely until we got to nothing.
So you're almost saying the word or dieting, the process, there's a negative connotation. There's actually could be bad for you. Certain
Yeah,
diets?
I think dieting. I think first of all, the word diet sort of signifies that there is an end. Like I'm going to diet, and then when I'm off my diet, I'm going to eat whatever I want to. But basically, if we don't look at the word, if we can just get rid of the word diet and sort of just say, I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to live this way, so there's no end to it, but it has to be something that you can sustain.
A lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Lifestyle change. Interesting.
Right.
So let's get to it. There's a lot of theories out there, and I want to see if we can debunk some of these. There's a theory of eating 6 days really well, and the 7th day eat as much as you want. Is that a good diet?
I would say if you do not have a tendency to binge, it's not awful, but like most people, especially if you're really restrictive during those 6 days, if you're physiologically starving, by the time you get to that 6th day, you're going to be able to eat. I mean, I remember when I was doing that cheat meal thing, I would eat probably 10,000 calories in a sitting.
10,000?
Easily.
Wow.
And you're so hungry that you can physically do it because you're just so depleted.
Doesn't sound healthy for the body.
It's not healthy for the body, and it's, you've done all this work all week, and then you just undid everything that you just did in that one meal.
Okay, so that one's out for now.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you're the type of person who doesn't have an issue with that, then it's not bad. But you have to know your body and know yourself, know what your triggers are. I know that I am a person who likes to eat when I'm bored. So, if I just sit down on the couch, I'm going to want to eat something. So I need to go either do something else if I'm not actually hungry. So you have to just recognize if you're an emotional eater, then, try to find some other way to cope.
That brings me to another question. You have a pretty good process of analyzing your client before they start working with you.
Yeah.
So if I was your client, I'm sitting there, what's the first thing you do with me?
Well, I would first, if we were going to go through your diet plan, I would say I want you to write down everything that you're eating for a day or two, and just let's look at what your current caloric intake is. And I tell them, I'm not judging you, just write down really what you're eating, because I really need to know truthfully, how many calories, because I go from that, and then you start slowly with the diet. There's no reason to go, there's no cookie cutter diets, but like, I wouldn't go and automatically put you on 1,200 calories a day. Yeah, you would probably lose weight, but that's overkill. So there's no reason to go on an excessively low calorie diet. If you're eating 5,000 calories a day and you're maintaining your weight, well, then we could cut it down to 4,500. You could still eat a ton and be on a diet.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So it just depends on where you're at
It sounds like it's very specific for the individual.
It is. You can't just, go online and get a diet off the internet and then start doing it. And I think that's where the problem is. People take a cookie cutter diet or some of the fad, like you'll shed weight quick, but in the long run, it's not going to be good for you. You're going to have a harder time keeping weight off afterwards.
It's like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Quick question on that. We're going to go back a little bit. I've heard a lot about this. People telling lies. Maybe it's, I don't want to say it that harshly. They might not give you all the information. So you tell them to write down the food, they'll give you certain information. The thing that pops up in my head was, you remember the old show, I'm sorry to have to admit this, The Man Show?
The Man Show?
With Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
They did a skit one time, and it was replayed and replicated in other shows, but it fits here. The reason I remember it, what they did is they had a weight scale outside, and they asked people, tell me how much you weigh. And on average, after about 50 to 100 people, everybody said 10 pounds or 8 to 10 pounds less than what the scale actually said. And the scale was accurate. It wasn't like they were playing games with people's head.
Did they have clothes on?
They had clothes on.
And if they'd eaten meals, like I always weigh myself first thing in the morning. So, and psychologically that helps me because I know if I weigh myself after I've eaten all day long, it's a few pounds more.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not saying like people are intentionally trying to be deceitful, but it seems like there's also a rationalization. There's a guard there. When they come to you, do you see that? Do you see, what did you eat yesterday, Joan?
Yeah, sometimes I have to really like pull it out of people. It takes me a little bit of time to get all of the information. And you have to also account for that people might not be fully compliant. They might not want to tell you everything. And, you give somebody a meal plan and you have to expect that they're not going to always follow it exactly. That's why I don't do the whole, strict meal plan thing anymore. I follow more of a macro kind of diet where you basically give somebody, here's the numbers that you need to fit in. So if you're going to eat 1,700 calories a day and 175 grams of fat, 175 or protein and carbs, 175, and maybe like 50 grams of fat, then you can eat whatever you want. It just has to fit in those numbers.
And they go to you for that kind of guidance.
Yeah. So then I'm more of a coach in that sense, that I sort of talk people through either an issue that they're having mentally dealing with food, or their workouts, or and then I do a lot of the posing coaching too. So I help people get ready for their shows, and basically just counseling them. So it's kind of part life coach, part fitness, So it's everything.
2 more questions here in regards to nutrition. Then we're going to go into some exercises. Water, is it important?
Yeah, I try to get about like a gallon of water every day.
A gallon of water?
I get in about a gallon, but I'm also active and sweating. So at least half a gallon.
I was immediately going to start generating a question. A lot of ladies are going to be thinking, I'm assuming a lot of ladies are going to be thinking, well, wait a minute, I want to be in the bathroom all day long.
Yeah, you kind of are, but it helps flush your liver and your kidneys. And, your liver is what processes all the fats. So if you keep that clean, you're ready to burn fat.
So alcohol sounds like may not be very helpful?
Yeah, alcohol is also very high in calories. So fat has 9 calories per gram and alcohol has 7. So
and
carbs and protein have 4. So essentially, calorie-wise, alcohol is like liquid fat. It's very high in calories. So like for me, I track my macronutrients. So alcohol isn't any of those things. It's not a carb, protein, or fat. It's a separate thing. But I have to count it towards my calories somehow. So I count it as carbs and fats, but it's very expensive in terms of calories. So for me to have 1 drink, well, that cuts out quite a bit of food that I can have that day. So I'm less inclined to drink as often, but I don't cut it out. I'll have a glass of wine here and there. I try not to restrict anything.
Now, I know a lot of people here are going to be wondering, well, wait a minute, Alissa, I can't take my alcohol away from me. Are there certain alcohol that I can have? Is wine better? White wine better than red wine?
No.
Now, I'm assuming...
There's resveratrol in the red wine, but you would have to drink so much to get the benefits of it. You'd be better off taking a supplement.
How about like a White Russian? Would you advise for or against
that?
those
Well,
kind of
that
drinks?
also has a lot of sugar and the cream that has like cream.
So no mixed drinks.
I wouldn't say no mixed drinks. I would say you can have it in moderation. If that's your favorite thing, have 1. Don't have 7, and then don't maybe go out and also have a giant dinner and huge dessert and have eaten all day bad. Like if I'm going to go on vacation, what I do, because it works for me, because we like to go to a nice dinner usually. So I'll be as good as I can during the day, and then I'll go to dinner and I won't order anything like crazy, but I'll have what I want to have.
That's great advice. Good idea.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's go to the exercise portion now. Actually, before we go to the exercise portion, how many times a day should we eat?
Should you eat? I would say between like 4 and 6 times a day.
So about every 3 hours or so?
Not necessarily, but like I would say have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and a snack somewhere in there.
Keep the metabolism
Yeah, and you
running?
can have more, but I wouldn't go above 6 meals.
Okay. Now, do people have to train with weights to look great?
I think you need it all. There's no magic pill. You have to work out. You have to do weight training and cardio training just for a healthy heart, and you need to eat right. So there's no really way around those things.
Now, weight training is kind of complicated. We won't really be able to discuss too much today, because I'm not going to tell you should we do shoulder presses or whatnot.
Yeah.
But how many days a week would you recommend cardio for somebody?
Cardio, first of all, I would recommend sweating every day. You should
Just sweating.
get a good something in every day. I don't do cardio every day. I would say do like weight training or cardio on, opposite days. So that way you can get a little bit of a workout in. Like right now for me, and I'm already in the position that I'm in, I'm working out about an hour and a half maybe a day. Not every day, but about that. Some days it's only 20, 30 minutes. But for the average person or someone starting out, I would say, for cardio, maybe start walking or, pick up a sport that you like to play if you just can't stand it. Go play softball or do something. Because that's the one thing, with competing that I really liked, because, and as a teenager, you play sports or you're active as a kid and you do all these things in high school. And then, you graduate high school and either you play in college or you don't, and then you're kind of done. You don't have that anymore. There's nothing for adults to do. And so that was kind of one of the things I loved about competing that got me started, was that I had something like that, because I really missed that from, youth.
I think we talked about that before the show, how society is changing with technology now. They're sitting more.
Kids are just inside all day. They don't play outside.
Yeah, they don't do anything out there.
Yeah.
Now, I know one of the concerns, you might have encountered this before too, a lot of women are going to say, well, look, if I start lifting weights, I'm going to get huge.
Yeah, no, it's so hard to do that.
To get big.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if they're not eating right, they're going to get big from, but there's a layer. If you don't have a layer of fat on top, you're not going to be big. It's so difficult to get that way. I mean, I've been trying to build muscle for 8 years and lifting as heavy as I possibly can. I'm lifting more. I lift more like a power lifter, and I'm not huge.
So they're not going to turn out to be a bodybuilder per se.
No, not at all. I mean, women can't look like that unless they start going in another direction.
That's one thing I wanted to make sure. A lot of times I think women have the misconception, if I lift an 8-pound dumbbell, by the time I'll be like Corey Everson and Linda Murray. And
Yeah.
It's just like, boom.
No, and I see so many women in the gym, and they're like, it's like they're lifting their cell phone. It's so light, and I'm like, you're not doing anything. You're really not doing anything. When you lift weights, you should be lifting a weight that, when you choose your amount of sets that you're going to do, so you're going to do 12 sets, which is for hypertrophy, which is
12 reps.
Yeah, about 12 to 15 reps. So the last two should be difficult.
And hypertrophy is?
Hypertrophy is basically, you're burning fat at the same time and you're building muscle.
Okay. So building muscle, hypertrophy, and then so 12 to 15 reps. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think, I don't want to get too detailed because once again, it's very specific for the individual and what their goals are.
Right. It is, but I would say 12 to 15 rep range is pretty standard across the board for a good range to just start out doing.
Excellent. So we covered the exercise, we covered nutrition tips. Any other ideas you want to tell our audience? Any other guidance or tips as the holidays approach and New Year's is coming along? What should they do?
I know a lot of people are probably going to start a diet after the holidays. I think, if you're going to go that route, start by tracking your food and see what is a maintenance level for you, and then go from there and see, how many calories. You don't need to cut more than 500 calories per day, to start losing a pound a week. So start slowly and then see. And if you don't notice any change, then you can cut a little bit more. Or if you're noticing too much, you can add a little more. So you can play with the numbers, but just start so you know what you're starting with, and then move from there. Also, don't go on a diet that's overly restrictive.
So if you want to get healthy, if you want to get in shape, where do we get a hold of you?
My website is the best place. It's www.alissaparker.net. And that has links to all my social media stuff, too.
She is everywhere.
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can't miss her. Once again, thank you so much, Alissa, for that great insight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you're going to get ready to get in shape. Remember, our motto is simple. Wherever there's psychology involved, we are there. We'll see you next time, everyone.